Hello, I'm Liyana Hassanel, and this is Nightline, the headlines. Comprehensive audit to be conducted to identify mastermind of cooking oil smuggling. Human Resources and Home Ministries to hold meeting over recruitment of foreign workers. Good morning. In a move to tackle smuggling of cooking oil to neighbouring countries, a comprehensive audit is being conducted on industry players to identify the mastermind. Deputy Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Rosal Wahid said the audit involved manufacturers, packers, wholesalers and retailers of suspected subsidised cooking oil. The audit process is expected to take about 2 months before enforcement action is taken. The mastermind will be prosecuted under the Control of Supply Act 1961 and face the penalty of having their license revoked. And according to the Ministry's records, so far it has detected 70 cases of offences related to cooking oil. That involve a total confiscation value of 85,717 ringgit since the beginning of this month. Among the offences detected were attempts to smuggle into neighbouring countries, failure to maintain stock books, hoarding supplies, and imposing conditional purchases. It was reported last month that Malaysian packet cooking oil was found in the Golok market in southern Thailand. Chairman of the Jihad Against Inflation Special Task Force, Tan Sri Anwar Musa, was earlier quoted as saying that if manufacturers failed to abide by the law and cooperate to combat leakages in subsidised cooking oil, he will act sternly and would not think twice about overhauling the entire system for as long as the subsidy is abused. In the meantime, the Home Affairs Ministry is prepared to mobilise its agencies, such as the Royal Malaysia Police, to assist the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, KPD and HEP, to curb the leakage of subsidised cooking oil. Its Minister, Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin, said his ministry was ready to work with the KPD and HEP on issues involving the welfare of the people to ensure no parties abuse goods the people need.
Kerana mereka memohon untuk kita memberikan kerjasama, itu tidak menjadi masalah. Kita bersedia untuk memberikan kerjasama sebab yang penting kepada kita adalah rakyat memahami bahawa kita ni ada enforcement yang boleh kita gunakan, bukan hanya semata-mata dari segi undang-undang yang tertentu, tapi semua yang boleh kita bantu, kita akan bantu.
He said this to the media after attending a get-together program with Persatuan Dunia Seni Silat Melayu Malaysia in Putrajaya on Sunday. On June 30th, Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi reportedly said his ministry would borrow officers from other enforcement agencies to conduct operations to address the shortage and leakage of cooking oil supply in the country. Datuk Sri Alexander Nanta said operations would not only focus at the border, but also within the country, especially against producers or manufacturers suspected of trying to abuse the local cooking oil market. The Human Resources and the Home Ministries will sit down on Monday to discuss the freeze on worker recruitment by the Indonesian government. The ministries felt that move is necessary to navigate the issue before coming to a decision.
Ikut arahan ataupun pandangan daripada Amal Berhormat Perdana Menteri, saya bersama-sama yang Berhormat Menteri KDN akan bincang untuk satu penyelesaian yang berhemah.
So memang ada problem lah yang sistem.
Tak ada problem.
Tak ada problem. Kenapa ada rungutan daripada ramailah daripada pihak awam mengenai tak boleh nak login lah.
Tak, saya setakat ni biar saya bincang dengan Menteri KDN supaya kita buat pasal pengumuman. Sebab ini melibatkan dua kementerian, bukan hanya kementerian semua, saya melibatkan dua kementerian. Tak baiklah kalau saya jawab. Biar saya dengan Yang Berhormat Menteri KDN berbincang dan kita buat keputusan.
The Human Resources Minister's response came in the wake of a directive by Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri on Saturday for both the ministries to resolve the issue, as he did not want the problem to affect Malaysia's ties with Indonesia. The temporary freeze was due to the Malaysian Immigration Department's continued use of the MAID online system to facilitate the recruitment of Indonesian maids, instead of the one-channel system, as agreed in the Memorandum of Understanding between the two countries. Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has been officially announced as Parti Keadilan Rakyat PKR President for the 2022 to 2025 session at the party's 16th National Congress after winning the post uncontested in the 2022 PKR election. While former Pandan Member of Parliament Muhammad Rafizi Ramli was officially announced PKR Deputy President after beating the party's Secretary General Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail in the contest for the post. According to the official PKR website, Rafizi garnered 59,678 votes, while Datuk Sri Saifuddin obtained 43,010 votes. Meanwhile, the four posts of PKR Vice Presidents were won by Selangor Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Amiruddin Syari, Tanjung Malim MP Chang Ling Kang, Setiawangsa MP Nik Nazmi Nik Ahmad, and Negeri Sembilan Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Aminuddin Harun. A total of 17 candidates contested for the four posts. Also announced were the list of 20 new Central Leadership Council (MPP) members who were elected by the 2,665 delegates at the PKR National Congress on Saturday. In the meantime, PKR is expected to hold discussions with DAP and Amanah on the Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) on transformation and political stability between the federal government and Pakatan Harapan (PH), which ends on July 31st. Its President Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said this was because both DAP and PKR had new council members after their respective party elections.
But as for the interpretation of the MOU per se, it does not necessarily end in July. In July or during the election. So we'll have to see that, because we don't want to be seen focusing on people's issues. Like, for example, once we stop it, are we forcing a general elections? We don't want to force a general elections because there are some immediate concerns that must be addressed.
Commenting on PH's interest in extending the MOU during a media conference after the 16th PKR National Congress in Shah Alam, Selangor on Sunday, Datuk Sri Anwar said he would also meet Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob to discuss the matter next week. On September 13th, 2021, the federal government and PH had inked an MOU to establish bipartisan cooperation on fighting COVID-19, transforming the administration, parliamentary reforms, ensuring judicial independence, the Malaysia Agreement 1963, and the formation of a steering committee. The Health Ministry has confirmed that 7 deaths involving malaria infection were detected from January 2nd to July 9th this year. Deputy Health Minister Datuk Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali said that of the total, 6 cases were reported from zoonotic malaria infection, while 1 case involved local human malaria infection.
Kebimbangan kita ialah kes-kes malaria zoonotik meningkat. Sejak 2017 meningkat daripada 300 lebih kepada sekarang ni dah 3,000 lebih. Dan bukan senang kita nak kawal sebab ini adalah jangkitan di luar.
He was speaking during a press conference after officiating the national level of the World Malaria Day 2022 event in Ipoh, Perak on Sunday. Datuk Dr. Nur Azmi added that for zoonotic malaria deaths, 2 cases were reported in Terengganu and Sabah, with 1 case in Sarawak and Pahang. Meanwhile, 1 case of death involving local human malaria occurred in Johor. Apart from that, he said a total of 1,447 cases of malaria were recorded in the same period, involving 1,311 cases of zoonotic malaria and 136 of locally infected human malaria. The government being cautious over its spending cuts is like making cuts across small budgets. According to economist Professor Dr. Jeffrey Williams, this move might not be effective. Instead, he said there is a need for widespread reforms on how the government's revenue is spent. In line with the government's decision to increase aid and subsidy expenditure for the welfare of the people, the government wants to make savings on the operating allocation to help cover part of the subsidy increase.
And the idea is that you can cut back on normal day-to-day expenditures which are which tend to be really quite small, but when you do this across a lot of people or across a lot of departments, then it will multiply up to make quite big savings. But the truth is that these savings are really not that big in the big scheme of things. And when we look at the type of savings that can be made from cutting back on civil service travel arrangements, for example, or even across other types of small expenditures, the government will not save a great deal of money at all. The downside, of course, is that civil servants might feel aggrieved by this if they feel that their terms and conditions of employment, particularly if they're involved in a lot of travel for their work, are being curtailed somehow, or if they're having to suffer more inconvenient or more difficult arrangements than they have in the past. And that might have a negative effect on their morale.
Professor Dr. Williams said at the same time, the government has to deal with its additional expenditure relating to subsidies and social protection functions. The cost-saving measures announced 2 days ago is to help finance some of the additional expenses related to subsidies for the welfare of the people. The Finance Ministry had revealed that the increase in existing subsidies, especially petroleum products and cooking oil, as well as new subsidies such as electricity and poultry, had contributed to the increase in government spending.
To raise money more generally, or to save on the subsidies bill in order to free up some of that money that could be spent on other areas of priorities of health and education and so on, the government has to start to introduce subsidy reform processes and has to consider new ways of dealing with some of the biggest subsidy areas, for example, in petrol. And we've suggested that a tiered pricing system in petrol would be a way of cutting the overall petrol subsidy, because it would focus the subsidy only on small volumes, small purchases, which largely are the amounts of petrol that are being bought by people in the lower income groups. Now, that wouldn't end the total subsidy, but it would help to reduce it. But generally speaking, we need to have a much more widespread reform in terms of how the subsidies are working, how the government's revenue is being spent, and it won't be solved just by small measures in terms of civil service, travel allowances, or other forms of paperclip type activities that the government is proposing.
Fears of a global recession are mounting, with many major economies expected to enter recession in the next 12 months due to tightening of monetary policies, surging inflation, and rising cost of living. This has raised concerns that Malaysia too will soon slip into recession, which could potentially aggravate the financial strain faced by the people. However, economists remain optimistic that Malaysia's strong economic fundamentals could withstand any recessionary risk emanating from the developed economies. Hakim Azman reports.
While there are growing headwinds to the global economy, economists are of the view that the risk of Malaysia entering into recession is not within expectations at the moment. Malaysian Industrial Development Finance (MIDF) researchers head Imran Yassin Mat Yusof said although the recession risk has ratcheted up in the US and European economies, the likelihood for Malaysia is lower due to the robust rebound in consumption demand and with the reopening of the country's domestic economy.
One, we have diversified our economy, our trade. Main trading partner is now China. The commodity prices is quite high still. And then of course our economy is expected to grow stronger this year following from the reopening. So that's why we think that at least Malaysia will be moderately impacted, but we will not get a recession in Malaysia. Maybe slower growth than what we previously expected.
Imran cited the global food and fuel price shocks are also milder in Malaysia, resulting in lower inflation and hence less aggressive interest rate hikes that could derail economic growth. He also urged the public to not panic and continue to contribute to the country's economy to lower the risk of the nation falling into recession. Meanwhile, Financial Planning Association Malaysia (FPAM) Chief Executive Officer Liyana said regardless of whether there is a recession or otherwise, the public should take proactive steps to safeguard themselves financially.
For us, this is something out of our control. So most important thing is, are we prepared? What are we going to do? So my answer I'm coming from is that for the men in the street to be able to be better prepared, the best thing they can do is make sure they have a good financial plan. I think most important thing is whether recession comes or not, if you're financially prepared, you have your financial plan beside you and a trusty financial planner beside you, you don't have to worry.
Lynette also advised the people to continue supporting local products to further expand the country's economic growth. Malaysians could also cut down on their household debts and set aside enough cash as an emergency fund if they suddenly find themselves jobless. While a global recession may risk derailing the country's progress and slow down the economy, it is likely Malaysia will continue to record positive growth. And this is to be driven by domestic demand, improvements in the labour market, and the government support policies to curb rising inflation and food prices. Hakim Azman, TV3.
Plane carrying dangerous cargo crashes in Greece, killing all on board. News from the foreign front after this short break. A cargo plane crashed in northern Greece on Saturday, killing all 8 people on board and raising concerns about the Serbian military equipment it was carrying. According to officials, the Antonov 12, which was operated by Ukrainian cargo airline Meridian, crashed shortly before 11 p.m. local time near Eleftheroupoli in the northeastern Kavala region. It was reported that the plane was transporting equipment, including illuminating mortar shells and training shells to Bangladesh when it crashed, killing all on board. Following the crash, 15 firefighters with 7 vehicles immediately went to the scene, while additional firefighting forces followed, including special units with 2 special vehicles for the collection of hazardous material. The area of the crash was also cordoned off and a security perimeter was established. An investigation into the incident has been launched. Authorities across southern Europe battled on Sunday to control wildfires burning across thousands of hectares of land in countries including Spain, Greece and France, where thousands of people have been evacuated in soaring temperatures. In Spain, helicopters dropped water on the flames as the country's National Weather Agency issued high-temperature warnings for Sunday, with highs of 42 degrees Celsius forecast in Aragon, Navarra and La Rioja in the north. It said the heat wave would end on Monday, but warned temperatures would remain abnormally high. Spain has been experiencing a nearly week-long heat wave, with highs of 45.7 degrees Celsius. In Portugal, with temperatures dropping during the weekend, there were only 2 forest fires active on Sunday, both in the north. But in the last 7 days, at least 659 people died due to the heat wave, most of them elderly. Authorities said the weekly peak of 440 deaths was on Thursday, when temperatures exceeded 40 degrees Celsius in several regions and 47 degrees Celsius at a meteorological station in the districts of Vizu in the center of the country. Ome on target again as Kyoto draw 1-1 with Sanfrecce. Sports coming up next. Sanfrecce Hiroshima missed out on going third in the J-League after drawing 1-1 against Kyoto Sanga on Sunday. After a scoreless first half, Sanfrecce took the lead in the 53rd minute, but substitute Genki Ome leveled matters in the 77th minute. The result meant Sanfrecce are now on 35 points, putting them 6th in the overall standings. For Kyoto, they are 13th on 25 points. On to golf. Rory, McIlroy and Victor Hovland were locked together 4 shots clear at the top of the British Open leaderboard after taming St Andrews with matching third rounds of 66 on Saturday. Norwegian Hovland made a fast start with 4 birdies in a row from the third before Northern Ireland's McIlroy chipped in from a greenside bunker to eagle the 10th hole and edged ahead with a birdie on 14. McIlroy dropped a shot at the notorious 17th road hole, his only bogey of the day, and the Ryder Cup teammates both birdied the last to finish on 16 under par before embracing warmly as the packed galleries gave them a rousing ovation. They will play together again on Sunday when McIlroy, 33, will bid for his 5th major title and the 24-year-old Hovland his first. Australian Cameron Smith and American Cameron Young were the leaders' closest challengers on 12 under. South Korean Kim Si-woo moved into contention on 11 under with a tidy round of 67, level with world number 1 Scottie Scheffler, who carded 69. In cycling, Australian Michael Matthews completed a vintage ride to win the 14th stage of the Tour de France, as Jonas Vingegaard held off defending champion Tadej Pogacar to retain the yellow jersey. Matthews went solo from the day's breakaway with 51 kilometers to go, and after being caught by a trio of chasers, he attacked again on the final ascent. Alberto Betiol managed to rein him in once more, only for Matthews to come back and go solo again to beat the Italian by 15 seconds. With the win, Matthews claimed his 4th Tour stage win and his first since 2017. Thibaut Pinot came home 3rd as the race's French riders continued to fight for their first stage win this year. The group of top contenders was lagging far behind, and Pogačar again attacked in a bid to unsettle Vingegaard on the last climb, only for the Dane to follow easily and cross the line on the defending champion's wheel. He still leads Pogačar by 2 minutes and 22 seconds overall, with Geraint Thomas in 3rd place, 2:43 of the pace. Sunday's 15th stage is a 202.5-kilometer ride from Rodez to Carcassonne before a rest day. Still to come on Nightline. 4 killed, 3 injured after suspected street race. Have arrested a 39-year-old man for allegedly insulting Islam on social media. Serdang Police Chief Assistant Commissioner A.A. Anbalagan said the suspect was arrested at a house in Puchong at 12:30 p.m. on Sunday. The investigation is being conducted by the Criminal Investigation Department's Classified Crime Investigation Unit, and the case has been classified under the Penal Code and the Communications and Multimedia Act. Earlier, a 35-second video of the man allegedly insulting Islam had gone viral on social media. Soon after, videos and pictures of the man with bleeding mouth and nose had also been circulating. He was believed to have been assaulted by a group of people who were angered by his alleged insults. Police said investigations will also be conducted on the individuals who allegedly assaulted the man. Four people were killed and 3 others severely injured in an early Sunday morning accident along the Tun Dr. Lim Chong Eu Expressway in Georgetown, Pulau Pinang. The accident, which occurred at around 4:40 a.m., was also said to have involved a group of motorcyclists who were participating in illegal racing. A 17-second video posted on social media shows motorcyclists racing along the expressway before cutting to parts of the accident, with the motorcyclist knocking into the back of a car. 3 of them died at the scene, while the 4th died while seeking treatment at the Pulau Pinang Hospital. The 3 who died at the scene have been identified as Muhammad Azrael Muhammad Rozaidi, 25, Muhammad Chazwan Hakim Muhammad Abdul Sani, 22, and Ahmad Haikal Naif Ahmad Nazrul, 19. Muhammad Harith Zikri Yusnizar, 17, died while seeking treatment. In Kuala Terengganu, a 10-year-old girl died in a road mishap on the East Coast Expressway, LPT2. In the incident, the car, which was being driven by her father, had crashed into a trailer, causing the vehicle to skid across the road before it crashed into 2 other vehicles. The impact of the crash caused the victim to be thrown out of the car. The victim, identified as Sayyeda Khadeja Muhammad Nazri, was confirmed dead upon arrival at the Sultanah Zahira Hospital. 11 other people, including the girl's parents and 3 younger siblings, suffered minor injuries and were reported safe. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look as Copenhagen play host to the 3rd round of the 2022 Cliff Diving World Series, with fans coming out in their droves in the Danish capital for a spectacular show of athleticism and bravery. And with that, I'm Liyana Hassanel. Thank you for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.